There were firefighters. There were bakers. There was a teacher. There were doctors. And there was the king's faithful servant, Gabu. Now, this king did not like to take a bath. He had not taken a bath in a week. He had not taken a bath in a month. He had not taken a bath in a whole year, and he was the smelliest king that had ever lived. Until he said one day,
I think it's time I'll have a bath.
So he walked down to the river, and all the villagers followed him. He called for the royal soap. He called for the royal scrubbing brush. He called for the royal ducky and the royal boat. He then stepped out of the river and called for the royal towel.
I don't have it. I don't have it.
It's right there. But then the king looked down at his feet, and they were still dirty. This made the king very angry. So he stepped back into the river and called for the royal foot scrubber. And he scrubbed his feet until they shone. But when he stepped back on land, the dirt got on his feet. So he called,
Gabu, where are you? The king is asleep, but the earth is dirty. You have 3 days until that. What is that? That is the sound of the hedgehog.
So the king went back to the palace. Gabu only had 3 days to rid the land of dirt and dust, or his head would be chopped off. Gabu put his head in his hands and he began to think. When something is dirty, you sweep it. So he called, "Villagers!" What now, Gabu?
Get your buckets and brooms.
So all the villagers got their brushes and brooms and began to sweep the earth. And all day long they swept the earth. Swish, 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 swish. But soon the air was filled with the dirt and dust. And the king came out of his castle and he said, and all the villagers surrounded Gabu and the king. So the king went back to his castle, and Gabu only had 2 more days. Gabu put his head in his hands and he began to think. When something is dirty, you wash it. Villagers! So all the villagers got their buckets and filled their buckets full of water and poured the water onto the land. But soon the water rose to their ankles, to their knees, to their thighs. And all the villagers were swimming in their village. jogs. And Gaboo put his head in his hands and began to think. Oh, Gaboo thought he had run out of ideas, but then he remembered. When he goes into his house is clean because it has a carpet and it keeps his feet clean. So he called. So all the villagers got their needle and thread and began to sew a carpet that would cover the ground.
I got lots of needles.
Yeah.
They'll be blown away. That's how we always have.
So once they had finished making the carpet, Gregory, they stretched the carpet from the firehouse to the doctor's office, to the bakery, to the seamstress, to the school, and they felt very proud of themselves. And they all went and sat down next to the castle. They all went down and sat next to the castle. And Gaboo went and knocked on the king's door.
Knocked on someone's head.
And he knocked on the door and the king came out.
Yes, Gaboo. I'm ready to air.
The king was not sure of what he saw, but as he walked on the ground, his feet were clean. But just as everybody was about to cheer, out came a little old lady. Everyone had quite forgotten her.
Your Majesty, if this carpet is covering the land, how are we going to grow food?
So she took out her scissors from her pocket and began to cut the carpet around the king's feet. She pulled back the extra carpet and then took 2 laces from her pocket. She tied the laces around the king's feet and said,
I call them shoes. Shoes? I've never heard anything like shoes.
Even though the village had never heard of shoes, the king decided to try them out. He ran all around the town, and he liked them very much, and nobody's head was chopped off, and the villagers cheered.
Yay!